Jeremy's going to explain to us exactly what he witnessed online last night. As we know, England took on Germany. It wasn't the most exciting game of football in history, but they took on Germany. And ultimately, they won 2-0 against their old rivals, and it brought out loads of lovely English nationalists banging their drum about the Three Lions and what wonderful people we are. But there was one particular...
Well, there was several.
Okay, explain to me the picture of the really upset German child.
Okay, so if you were watching the match last night, at the end of the match, when the final whistle was blown, the camera panned across the crowd and it focused on a photograph of a German girl in a German jersey, about 7 years of age, maybe 8, being consoled and hugged by her father as she cried. She was upset that her country had lost the match. First of all, I don't think it was right. I don't think the camera should pan on children when they're upset. I just think it's not a nice thing to do. Anyway, the photograph of the German child crying was then shared on social media with some horrific comments underneath it from English football supporters. Now, this is obviously not all English football supporters. This is a selection. One of them, and when I saw these last night, I just went, oh my God, we've reached new depths of depravity here. One of them shares the photograph. So think about this. This is a 7 or 8-year-old German child crying, a photograph of her. One football fan, in inverted commas, said, "Cry more, slut. Ha, 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 ha." About an 8-year-old child.
Okay, so this is a photograph of a German child, a young child, in the football stadium last night, seeing her country being defeated, and obviously very emotional to even be at the match because, you know, there was a lot of fans weren't there.
Children cry over a range of things.
And this child's photograph was spread on social media and somebody said, say it again?
Cry more, slut, and then laughy faces after it. So this came from a Twitter account, an anonymous Twitter account. I mean, it was _DGeneral9. That's not that person's name, DGeneral9. Then I go onto Twitter a bit further and I see another tweet from another user, Rex Arms. That's not his name, Rex Arms. And he says, "That German kid in tears has made my night. F you." Now, they actually used the word F-U-C-K. I'm not going to say it. F you, you little C-U-N-T. You don't always get what you want. And I thought to myself, first of all, I reported both those accounts immediately. And I thought to myself, you wouldn't in a million years, if you were walking down the street and you saw a child with their parent crying, you wouldn't in a million years go up to that parent and say, your child is a little slut or a little C-U-N-T.
Well, I hope you wouldn't.
You certainly would, because you'd end up being battered to death. And it just got me thinking of how people are allowed to have this anonymity online, that 2 football fans last night thought it was acceptable to hide behind an anonymous account and call an 8-year-old such disgusting names. Now, this doesn't happen. This isn't an isolated incident. This happens on a daily basis. If you have any sort of social media presence, myself and Adrian have been on social media for the last since it was invented. Myself and Adrian, we use social media to our advantage. We use it to get you to listen to the show. That's what we do. But with that comes a lot on the other side, and we have been abused. Now, I don't have a problem. We need to draw comparisons here. I don't have a problem with someone slagging me off if I put up a photograph on wearing a shirt, or if my belly is hanging out. I don't have a problem with that.
No, it's all part of the game. Or
someone saying, God, Kennedy, you're brutal on the show. You need to be replaced, whatever the case may be. That's part of the game. But then you have the underbelly of it. You have the people who think that it's okay to call a 7-year-old a slut on social media. And they can do so without any fear of repercussions because they're hiding behind a fake account. And I thought to myself, if social media companies were to stamp that out and say, if you want to set up an Instagram account, a Twitter account, a Facebook account, or a YouTube account, you need to have a registered account. The days of hiding behind fake accounts are gone. Because here's the thing. My firm belief is that the only people who have anonymous social media accounts are people who are out to cause trouble. In other words, you wouldn't walk into a bank with a balaclava on your head unless you were going to rob the bank. Okay? So if you are covering your identity, the only reason you are covering your identity is because you want to be able to tweet calling a 7-year-old a slut and get away with it. I can guarantee you that if that person made that comment from an account where they were named and you knew where they were coming from, they would be sacked today from their job, and rightfully so. Yes, this absolute toe rag, subhuman.
Okay, and I want to just repeat what... so again, just to explain... This was a photograph. The cameras at the end of the football match panned across the crowd and happened to focus in on a young child. There is, in fact, if you're watching us on Facebook, we're actually showing you the, oh my God almighty, cry more slut.
The other one,
that absolute toe rag.
The other one, don't even read it out, is even more.
It's vile. That German kid in tears had me laughing all night or something like that. And
F you, you little CNT.
Okay, the question that we want to ask you right now, and we want to get you involved in this conversation, is... Should it be... well, it's estimated that around 28% of social media users have an anonymous profile or a profile without their real names, photos, or personally identifiable information on different platforms. So, for example, if you go on to Twitter and you find my Twitter account, it's Adrian F. Kennedy on Twitter. It has a little blue tick after my name, which means that I had to verify with Twitter that it was my account. I had to send them my... photo ID. I had to show them where I worked. I had to basically verify that it was me.
Yeah. Which with that comes responsibility. In other words, Adrian cannot
start trolling people.
He cannot call a 7-year-old child those kind of horrible words, because if he did, he'd end up in front of court. He'd end up in court and he'd end up losing his job. And that should be the case. We need to have rules in place. The days of people being able to hide behind their phones and just send abuse after abuse, those days have to come to an end. And the only way they're going to come to an end is if people and governments put pressure on the likes of Twitter. When I had a stalker for 2 years on social media. Now, this wasn't someone who was just infatuated with my looks or anything like that. This was a stalker who was out to ruin my life, who threatened to kidnap my child. My child was only 1 years old at the time, and threatened to kidnap my child, threatened to come out and stab me. We got the police to contact Twitter to hand over the details of that person. And I get so angry and upset talking about this because it's an issue that's so close to my heart. You know what Twitter said when the police arrived at Twitter headquarters? So the detective dealing with my case said it was a very serious case. This is very worrying that someone is threatening to kidnap your child. They may not mean it, but still, to threaten to kidnap a child is a sick, depraved thing to do. The detective dealing with my case went down to Twitter headquarters, which is down at the canal there, and said, I'm investigating a case into alleged trolling and alleged stalking by someone using your platform. Twitter refused to hand over the details of that person's account. That's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with faceless companies that don't give a shit if you are being trolled or bullied until it's too late.
Okay, so the question that we want to ask you is it time that all social media accounts were verified? In other words, that people have to use their correct name, their correct information, and, you know, that social media companies, in other words, if I were to start acting the maggot on Twitter, for example, Twitter know who I am because I've had to verify my account, and they can come down on me like a ton of bricks. So
Gary Neville, the footballer, or ex-footballer and pundit, has made some great points about this last year, and he gets dog's abuse on his Twitter feed if he says something against a football team that people support, and Gary Neville has said, some of the things that people say to me on social media, if they said it to my face, it'd be like the purge. There would be people killing each other on the streets. And what he said is, in all my years walking around Manchester as a footballer and a pundit, nobody has ever come up to me and said anything like they would say to me on social media. And that's the truth. We even got a comment on our Facebook page about 20 minutes ago from someone just sending us abuse. And looking at that fella's photograph, he would be terrified to walk up to you on the street and say that to your face. It just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen.
100%. 085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number. One of the reasons that we're talking about this is a message that we got yesterday from a lady called Tanya, and I want to read it to you. Hi lads, can you talk about trolling on your show? In the last month on my Instagram, I've been bullied and harassed by several people because who seem to have a vendetta against me. Every time I blocked one, another account was set up, and they were all anonymous accounts, saying horrible things about my appearance. How can this be let happen? I ended up deleting my account. Surely it's time for social media companies to stop people setting up fake accounts. And that's from Tanya, and she says, I even reported one account to the guards that threatened to sexually assault me, and they said there's not much they can do when the account is fake. And that is part of the problem here.
And this isn't about us trying to stamp on free speech. I believe in free speech.
I do myself, yeah.
Myself and Adrian, because of the shows we've done over the years, we believe in free speech. But free speech should have consequences, and that's all we're saying. You should be allowed to say whatever you want on social media, and if that absolute sicko wants to call that young girl a slut because that's the type of person he is, he's a depraved individual, he should be allowed to do it if he's willing to take the consequences of standing up in a court and explaining to that child's parents why he did that, and going into work the next day and explaining to his boss that he calls children sluts, and then taking the rap for that.
085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number. We really would like to hear from you about this. I'm joined on the line by a lady who feels very strongly about this for very understandable reasons, as you're about to hear. Her daughter, Nicole Fox, known as Coco, has made a monumental impact on Ireland, protecting others from the horrors of online abuse through legislation that was enacted earlier on this year in her name. Known affectionately as Coco's Law, Nicole was 21 years old when she died by suicide after suffering years of horrific physical and online abuse that started just after she turned 18. And as I said, I'm joined on the line by Coco's mum, and her name is Jackie Fox. Jackie, good morning and welcome to Opinions Matter.
Good morning. Good morning.
What is your reaction? And I'm going to talk about the laws that have been brought in here in Ireland on the back of a massive campaign that you spearheaded yourself. But what is your reaction to what you've been hearing there about these trolls saying disgusting things about a 7 or 8 year old kid that happened to be upset over Germany losing a football match last night?
Yeah, I didn't know about that until today. Until I heard it there today off you. Absolutely. There's no words for these people. These cowards. To be. They don't even give their real name, as you said. They're hiding behind the screen, not even having the balls to give their real name and face the consequences. But no, it's all that hiding behind social media. And can I just say there on some of the points that you said, look, social media can be a great thing. You have used it for your advantage. I have used it for my advantage to get, support in for Coco's Law. But it's not just the social media. It's the people that are using it that are destroying people, that are killing people, that are dragging them down, that are knocking their confidence. But in saying that, the platforms have a huge responsibility. Even though it's the people that on it, the cowards that are behind it, that are doing all these nasty things, the platforms, Facebook, all these created these apps, these created these things. They have the power to take it down.
Are you shocked, Jackie, to hear that around 28% of social media users have an anonymous profile still without their real names, photos, or personally identifiable information?
No, I'm not shocked, because what's being done about it, you said that, you can't go on to social, you have to prove who you are on social media, so you can't go on to bully. But the ones that can't prove, see the cowards that gave the false fake names or whatever, why aren't, like I'm sure they have a lot of people looking at what's going on and what's going put on Twitter or whatever. Why are they allowed to? If you can't prove that that's who you are and that's your name, why are they letting them put a page up? I don't know what way it works. I just think, if you're saying you have to prove who you are, so why are these people's names just coming up?
Yeah, this was the point that I made. I, for example, myself and Jeremy both have what are called verified accounts, and what that means is there's a little blue tick after your name. You had to prove who you were, where you live, all of that. So if I were to act inappropriately on social media, Twitter could come after me because they have all my details. But that's very unusual in that on social media, I've known people who have set up fake accounts, and it's actually still quite easy to set up a fake account.
All you need is an email address. You can set up a fake email address and then set up a fake social media account. It's so easy. Yeah. And then call yourself John12567 and get away with whatever you want.
Yeah, and that's the problem, because you can get away with it. Why? I don't know, that blue tick. Why can't everyone?
Yeah, why shouldn't
everyone?
Yes. And the argument is,
and if you haven't got the blue tick, well then you're not allowed on it.
Yeah, and I mean the argument is, if you want to open a bank account, you've to jump through all sorts of hoops. You've to bring ESB bills in and bring your photo ID in and all of that, and that's so that they know exactly who you are if there's any issues. But in terms of social media, they don't seem to have that, but it can have a devastating impact for people, and most people at this stage, Jackie, know the story of your daughter Nicole. For people who may be hearing the story for the first time, can you remind us what happened to Nicole?
Yeah, Nicole, as you said, she was my only little girl. When she turned 18, she was so excited to go out to the nightclubs, and start her life, having fun. And put a long story short, didn't happen that way. People, they put cigarette butts out on her. It started off with two people, but the group got bigger. They put cigarette butts out on her and pulled her down a metal flight of stairs by the hair, burnt her with curling tongs, pretended to dance beside her, and they'd give her an elbow in the face or an elbow in the chest. They tore her down, but you know what? It wasn't good enough. They had to go online, because Nicole still went out with a smile on her face. That mask, that fake mask she used to put on to say, I'm okay, you're not bothering me. So they thought, okay, we're not getting to her. So it did go online all the time now. And I've told you, she's never responded once to any of the abuse that she was getting online. But whether it was on groups in WhatsApp, it was on Instagram, she was told every day, go hang yourself, go slit your wrist, go die, you're better off dead, no one wants you. They sent videos on the likes of Instagram of a noose on how to kill yourself. My baby never suffered from mental health issues or anxiety, growing up, none of that. But when this all happened, it got deeper and deeper and deeper into her head. They got deeper and deeper and deeper into her head.
So this was continuous, non-stop trolling and bullying. And tragically, in January, 3.5 years ago, Nicole couldn't take it anymore and took her own life.
Yeah, she actually did. She hung herself. They got what they want. That's what they want her to do. And they said to her, they actually made a fake page as well called Saoirse. And on that page, they said that they were going to beat her up so badly and leave her on life support machine. And they also got their own way there as well. So yeah, it's as I said, social media can be great. If it's used properly, it can be fun. It can be used to people's advantage, but when you get the likes of these people, these cowards that they destroy people, and some people say, especially if they're young, they mightn't realise what they're doing. That is crap. They know what they're doing, and they said to my Nicole that they were going to continue until they got her in the end, until they get her in the end, and that's what they did. These were adults. These were aged between 20. The main girl was aged 23 at the time, so Nicole was 18, and some of the girls that burned her they had kids of their own. So these were not only adults, these were parents as well. You know,
tell me just very briefly, Jackie, what are the implications of what has been called Coco's Law, which was enacted earlier on this year? What does it mean to us here in Ireland?
Right. Okay. Basically, really quick is it wasn't a criminal offence when Nicole was going through this, and not only Nicole, so many other people. But now it's actually a criminal offence to torture and torment someone online, to cause someone in great distress, where it could lead to them self-harming or even worse, taking their own life. There is imprisonment or fines, and not only that, a big huge thing is with their brave fake pages is images. People putting up images on Facebook of themselves, and then the boy or the girl or whoever it is will break up, and all them images are on Facebook forever.
Okay, so all of that is now illegal and prosecutable by law.
Yes, that it's a criminal offence, where it's good for people now, because they can take screenshots and evidence of all the stuff that they have, and you can go to the police. And there's actually people, there's a lot of people, because I always get reviews back from the guards. There's a lot of people actually being investigated under Coco's Law at the moment.
Excellent.
So,
fantastic.
It's something. It's not going to fix everything. It's not going to fix all bullying and stuff, but it's.
Okay, let me ask you one question then before we let you go, Jackie. We were talking about these accounts last night that trolled a photograph of a 7 or 8 year old girl, calling her all sorts. Do you believe that it's about time that social media companies made people have verified accounts?
100%, 100%. It's too big now. I never realised how big trolling was on or suicide was due to bullying until I lost Nicole. And now I work with a lot of people that, in relation to that, it's huge. Yeah, it has to be stopped and it has to be made verified. If you don't have that little blue tick that you were talking about, well then they have to take the accounts down unless you have a verified blue tick. Can I just say one thing really, really quickly?
Yeah, no problem.
You said about freedom of speech. Okay, I'm not snowflake. I agree with freedom of speech, but freedom of speech is not. There's a line there that you cross. Freedom of speech isn't calling a 7-year-old girl a slut. That's not freedom of speech.
No.
And freedom of speech isn't telling someone to go and hang themselves and kill themselves and bring them down. There's a line between freedom of speech. You can have your opinion without causing so much distress to someone,
Jackie, before I let you go, I've been asked to play this message for you from David.
How are you, lads? Dave here. Just do me one favour and just play this message and just tell that woman how incredible she is for the work she's done to pass Coco's Law. And to keep going strong, that I thought they'd be very proud of her. Good man.
That's a lovely message, David. Thanks very much indeed.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And you know what, as well, Adrian, what I'm doing is just because Coco's Law is passed doesn't mean I'm stopping either. What I've been doing is going to schools, colleges, youth clubs, youth reach, football clubs, and talking about, the consequences, the devastation that's left behind, and what will happen, and what the law is. So, I just
it really is fantastic, Jackie, that as I said, 3.5 years after losing your daughter, you're not letting this one go. You are, and you achieved what you set out to achieve, which was the enactment of Coco's Law. But even today, speaking to us here, you are still prepared to speak and highlight the absolute dangers, and for that you deserve great credit. Jackie, thank you as always for talking to us, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks very much indeed. That is Jackie Fox, who is the mother of a young girl who, through online trolling, basically took her own life back in 2018, which... And we've been talking to Jackie all the way through the last couple of years. In fact, we were the very first people she spoke to publicly about her story.
And the thing about it is, these people, if they are identified, will end up... I'm not talking about Jackie's story, but I'm talking about generally about trolling. These people, when they are identified, they will end up in court. I mean, you heard about the Kerry teenager a couple of years ago who sent footballer Ian Wright a torrent of abuse on his Instagram page. Disgusting stuff that you wouldn't dare say to somebody's face. He ended up in front of a judge. His mother marched him down to the Garda station at the time. So you can see how easy it is that once a person is identifiable, how easy it is to get justice. And as we said, this isn't about trying to stamp a foot on free speech, because I can see people commenting on our Facebook page already saying, what about free speech? Free speech. Absolutely. You can say whatever the hell you want to say in the comfort of your own home, once you are prepared to deal with the consequences of what you say. In other words, you can't walk into a busy shop this afternoon and scream fire, fire, fire when there is no fire and cause a stampede. So do we allow free speech to extend to that? Free speech has to have consequences, and calling a 7-year-old a slut has to have consequences.
085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number if you'd like to get involved in this conversation. The question we're asking is very simple. Should social media companies enforce verification on accounts to stop people having anonymous social media accounts? 085 825 2626. Just send us a simple yes or no to that question. Should social media companies be forced to make sure all accounts are verified? Because it's estimated that around 28% of social media users have an anonymous profile or a profile without their real names, photos or personally identifiable information on their platforms. Katrina, good morning and welcome to Opinions Matter.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you, Katrina. You reached out to us actually over the weekend about something that you want to highlight. Tell me just briefly what has happened to you.
So basically, it's about the same thing about the trolling on the Twitter, right? I have loads of people trolling me on Twitter recently, saying nasty stuff, saying that accusing me of all sorts of stuff that's not real. So it's all fake accounts. So basically, they've been saying that I've been a stalker to certain people when I haven't, and all sorts of nasty stuff. And they've used my Facebook picture, and they put it on a group account, saying like this girl is nasty and blah blah blah, and just awful trolling, like to the facts where I just don't know what to do and stuff. And it's on Twitter, it's not Facebook.
And do you know these people? Now, I don't want you to name anybody, but do you know who's doing this?
No, that's the thing. Like, it's all like fake accounts. It's not even real accounts.
These fake accounts have decided to just suddenly troll you.
Yeah, over my Twitter and stuff. Basically, a lot of people didn't like me due to what my hobbies were and stuff. And basically, like I used to, like before COVID, I used to do a lot of theatre shows and stuff. And I used to meet a lot of like actors, I won't mention any names. But like basically, I've been getting hate for this for years. They would send me all sorts of awful like messages, and they were just trolling accounts, not real accounts. And they would write awful stuff about me on Twitter.
And again, these are people you don't know, they're not identifiable, and they've just decided to pick on you, just an ordinary woman.
Yeah.
Not somebody very famous.
No. It's because it's because they get jealous of a lot of actors I meet. I don't want to really mention any names.
Mm.
So like my hobbies were like I used to do stage door and stuff, and I used to meet one popular actor that they all got jealous from, and the amount of like hate I would get all from it is unbelievable, you know. And this is from nasty comments like, they would even comment about my parents, so like, oh, you're a horse thief, oh, like you shouldn't be really on Twitter, like, oh, like this nasty comments about my parents, like my hair and stuff, and like my face, you know, because I have my real picture on Twitter. It's like
Yes, you're not
anonymous.
hiding, yeah.
No. So, like, a lot of them are hiding, and they're all adults. It's a joke. I mean, there should be really laws on certain accounts, like anonymous, not real ones.
So one of the questions we're asking today is, should social media companies clamp down on the 28% of social media accounts that are anonymous profiles without real names, without real photographs, without personally identifiable information? Should those companies be forced to clamp down on those fake accounts, basically?
I think so, big time, because the fact that they're allowed to hide behind an account and allowed to say loads of awful stuff, like the C word, whore, bitch. Like, I really don't want to go on, do you know what I mean? And sending like awful threats saying, do not go here and we'll get you and all that. And it's making me really weary, because I used to go to London all the time before the COVID. So, like, there'd be gangs of them going, like, if she goes to London now, we'll share all this crack, even though they're not real accounts.
All right, so you would like to see a clampdown to stop people deciding just anonymously to pick on somebody like you. Let me just ask you one final question. What has been the impact on you? What sort of effect has this had on you? Because I know you contacted us over the weekend asking us to highlight this. Tell me about the effect that this has had on you.
This has put my self-confidence down big time. Do you know what I mean? And also, like, it can go over your head. I have blocked them and stuff, but they keep coming back, like, on other accounts. So, like, it doesn't stop the harassment. That's what needs to be sorted here. That they need to stop certain people making 10 accounts of the same person. You know what I mean? And the fact that they use my photo on a Facebook page says it all, like, on like a trolling page, not a normal page. No,
I have to say, I have always found this online trolling despicable. And, you know, I know some people say, toughen up and get a thick skin and get over it. It's not that easy, though. And I can hear that in your voice, that it's not that easy to just switch it off.
It's not really, because, like, they would tell you to, like, literally block. I have reported this to the guards, but the guards haven't done nothing. Because they said, like, literally, this is fake pages, they're not real pages.
They shouldn't be allowed to have fake pages, isn't that basically it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, I really appreciate you sharing your story with us, because I know an awful lot of people have experienced the same thing. You heard from Jackie Fox about her own daughter and what her daughter went through. The only thing I can say to you, if it's of any consolation at all, Katrina, is just do your very best to just ignore them. It can be very difficult to just ignore them, but that's the only advice
We've
I can
had
give
some
you.
terrible comments made about us over the years. During different times, like I remember during the water protests, people thought we were pro war, or we were pro water charges. And the abuse they got, they took photographs of us, they superimposed photographs of us on different things. There are some nasty, nasty people out there, and these people are hiding behind fake accounts, and those days are gone. They can't have that anonymity anymore.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
But they shouldn't be able to. That's
has
the
to
whole
change.
point. All right. Thanks very much indeed, Katrina, for sharing your story with us. You're very good. Thanks very much indeed. That is awful. You can hear the effect that it's having on her, the impact on her mental health from being trolled like that by people who should mean nothing to her.
But I also think we can't become the social media police as well. We need to still be able to have arguments online. That's all part of life. We need to still disagree with people online.
There's having arguments online now, and then there's telling people to hang themselves.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's going too far.
Or calling an 8-year-old child a slut.
Yeah, that's going too far.
085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number if you want to get involved in this conversation. And the question that we're asking is, should social media companies be forced to have only verified accounts? Okay, that's the question that we're asking. Let me read out a comment. For example, from Anthony that come into us on our Facebook page. And Anthony says, what about people who don't want to verify accounts as they don't want to put up personal info or photos of themselves, who don't go on trolling or being cyberbullies? Not everyone should be tarred with the same brush. My argument to that, Anthony, would be, if you've nothing to hide, then why would you not want to be yourself online?
As I said,
if you've nothing to hide.
The only people who walk into a bank with a balaclava on are people who want to rob the bank. Okay, if you walk into a bank without a balaclava on, it's because you're not doing anything wrong. So the only people that would need, and I've had so many disagreements with the far right in Ireland. Gemma O'Doherty. You can talk about Gemma O'Doherty and all that. She's a horrible, vile person. At least she doesn't hide behind a fake account.
She is who she is, for good or bad.
Yeah, it's the only positive thing I'll say about her, that at least she doesn't hide behind a fake account. But there's so many far right groups in Ireland now, and anytime I have a friend, as you know, it's a mutual friend of myself and Adrian's, and she has mixed race children, and when she puts up a photograph of one of her mixed race children, the abuse she gets. Now, I mean, horrific stuff, but every single account that racist abuse comes from is like at John 1945, at Michael 1916, all behind anonymous accounts.
085-825-2626 is our WhatsApp number. Do you think people are entitled to anonymity online? For example, I just got a message from Terry, and he says, anonymity is very important, but with Facebook you don't get that no matter if you set up a fake account. Well, the point is, Terry, you can set up a fake account. It's actually extraordinarily easy. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note that has come in to us from Jane.
Hi guys, just want to say the type of people that does this is just disgusting. They're not even human beings. They should be all shot. Disgusted. Thank you.
Oh, she is annoyed. 085-825-2626 if you want to give your opinion on this. Should it become illegal for people to have fake accounts or accounts where they're not identifiable? Jude, do you think that people need to harden up here?
Yes, I do. I think the whole idea of people being liberal, right? And most people who are liberals, not all of them, a good lot of them, are woke and they're soft. The whole idea of liberalism is to have free speech. But liberal people who are that woke people, they don't want anyone to have free speech unless it's the free speech that they want us to have. We can only have an opinion if it's the opinion that they agree with. And Jeremy was saying there, you can't walk into a bank. Young people walk into a bank with a balaclava or whatever. In fact, the banks don't actually insist on you having your face covered now when you walk into a bank.
Well, okay, that's the irony, actually, of the life that we've been living for the last year, that you can't go into a bank without a mask on. But the point still stands for what he was saying. People, okay, the point you're making is we can have free speech, but on the terms laid down by the woke community.
Yeah, but that isn't free speech. And there's nothing wrong with anonymity. Because if there was no anonymity, we wouldn't have, say, the likes of, say, whistleblowers who blow open huge, massive wrongs in organisations.
Yeah, and I agree. We do need anonymity, certainly in circumstances like that. But when it comes to online trolling, and that means picking on people, calling them names. We mentioned earlier on about the photograph circulating last night of an 8-year-old German girl at the football match with England last night, bawling her eyes out after Germany lost. And some of the stuff that was said about that kid online was just horrendous. People shouldn't be allowed to do that, should they?
It's human nature. Just because human nature hasn't changed. Before the internet became hugely popular and we have massive amounts of social media access, human nature was still the way it is now. cyber or internet companies or social media companies are not responsible for human nature.
No, I understand that, but
So
what it has enabled people to do, for example, we got a message on our Facebook page earlier on. No, I don't give a damn anymore. I'm well over it. I'm able to ignore people when they make nasty comments. However, some of the comments that people will say online, they would never in a month of Sundays say it to your face. Because they'd get a dig in the face. So you're
human
saying,
nature.
No, but you're saying
Just
human
nature. People would do that anyway.
No. You're saying human nature has enabled. Social media is just reflecting human nature. The fact is, it's made it easier for people to be abusive. Isn't that the point?
In other words, Jude, all the comments that have been made about myself and Adrian online over the years, okay, I have never had as much as a bad word said to me by someone in public. And I've met some of our listeners and some of our, we have as many enemies as we have fans, Adrian, going over the years. We've made a lot of enemies. I've never had one mean thing said to me in a public place, but yet online, it's a barrage of things. So what makes that different? It's because people feel that they can do whatever they want on social media with zero repercussions.
So social media or free speech, because you were saying about 28% fake accounts, free speech, no matter what, should be just stopped because of 28% of people have fake accounts.
No, that's not what we're saying. But people shouldn't be allowed to be so
nasty.
Yeah.
So why can't you be nasty? What's wrong? It's human nature. As long as you don't act on it. It's okay being homophobic. It's okay to be racist. It's okay to be anti-Semitic. It's okay to hold those views, even to tell you, as long as you don't act on it. So when you're talking about something, no one is acting on their thoughts or the way they're
Jude. Hang on a second. That photograph last night that was put up of the 8-year-old girl crying and some football fans calling her a slut and a cunt and all that. I can tell you now, if I was the father of that child, if I put a photograph, and this is why I don't put photographs of my kids on social media.
By the way, neither is that father.
No, he didn't. He didn't even.
He didn't take the photograph.
But if I saw somebody calling one of my children those horrible names, I would want to hunt that person down and drag them by the scruff of their neck into the courts. Would you agree, Adrian?
Yeah.
And get justice.
Yes, I would, and I can understand how an awful lot of parents will be angry. But Jude's fundamental argument is that we are entitled to free speech. And it's okay to make nasty comments online as long as you don't act them out. Now, I'm not sure I'm sold on that argument. 085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number. Do you agree with what he's saying? It's okay to make nasty comments online as long as you don't act them out. In other words, as long as you don't actually physically assault somebody or whatever. 085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number. If you'd like to get involved in this conversation, is it time that social media companies were forced to no longer have anonymous accounts? These are, it's estimated that 28% of social media users have an anonymous profile or a profile without their real names, photos, or personally identifiable information. We're asking whether or not it is time social media companies were stopped from doing that. 085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number.
Now, every now and then you get stories that sent into you and you go, oh my God, I can't believe that this would actually happen in the real world. And we're about to talk to a girl in the moment whose name is Sarah. And when you read the catalogue of bullying that she went through online, it makes a very strong argument for getting rid of anonymous social media accounts.
085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number. And in fact, Sarah is on the line. Sarah, good morning and welcome to Opinions Matter.
Hiya, thanks.
Sarah, tell me your story. You sent us a message a while ago and it starts with, I was kicked in the stomach while I was pregnant and lost the baby.
Yeah. So I was 16 years old and I was attacked over nothing. Literally, the girl walked up, kicked me in the stomach, and then jumped back. When I said I'm pregnant, she said, "Oh, so it's true." I went to the hospital straight away, got a scan done, and there was no heartbeat. And then went to the guards as well. The guards were called. I handed over all my documents, said go through it all. And they said that they couldn't prove that she had done it. And they weren't going to put something so big on someone so young. So it was left on me that it must be my fault. Then to deal with that, I know it was enough. And then they decided that they could use Bebo and Facebook and this thing called Ask FM. There used to be an anonymous profile thing, and they would the stuff that they didn't say to me, that other girls were going to do worse to me. That if it ever. Oh, it was just horrible.
So it was bad enough that you were attacked in person, kicked in the stomach while you were pregnant, lost a baby, but that harassment, which was extremely bad, that harassment then moved online.
Yeah, and sometimes people would get caught and they would accidentally not click the Ask Anonymously question. And I found out that my friends were doing it.
Your own friends were trolling you anonymously online.
Yeah, at the same time my mum died, and they said things like, "You're an orphan, you have no baby, nobody loves you." Yeah,
that is unbelievable. It really is. So you say in your message that the girl, her friends, and I even discovered some of my own friends were able to anonymously abuse me online. We mentioned earlier on about a photograph last night taken at the England-Germany football match of an 8-year-old German kid bawling her eyes out, and some of the horrible comments that were made about the child.
Yeah.
Do you think it should be illegal to post anonymously online?
It should be, but I mean, I don't get how long we've had the internet and how it hasn't become illegal.
And like I said, we were shocked to read that 28% of social media users have an anonymous, their anonymous accounts, basically, an anonymous profile.
Yeah.
You obviously believe that has to stop.
Yeah, well, I can't sign up for certain things. Like, I can't sign up to Netflix without my bank account. And if they have my bank account already on it, they're not going to give me a second one. So why can't, it's something like that. And then you can create as many as you like of these pages, and you can say whatever you like to whoever you like.
So we need to get rid of anonymous accounts. All social media accounts should have to be verified.
Definitely. I know there's some people out there, like I know people who don't have passports and things, but if you want to use it, you should have it.
Well, I'm really sorry to hear what you went through, and by the sounds of it, it's still. How long ago was this? This was a number of years ago.
11 years nearly.
Pardon me?
11 years. 11 years nearly.
11 years ago. So it's not like this is something new, that this happened that long ago. But and listening to what you've been saying, when you hear a conversation like this, it immediately brings it all back to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is time to get rid of anonymous accounts.
You'd be a big grown-up girl and you wouldn't bother you anymore. But sometimes I think of what they said, some of the things that they would have said, they would have told me to go kill myself. They would have told me that the world was better without me. And, when you think of those things, and to think that somebody thought that of you at some stage in your life.
Yeah, it's dreadful. It really is. And you highlighted so well.
You were going through the loss of your own mother. Then on top of that, you lost the baby as well because of the assault you got. Were any charges brought against any of those people?
No. No, the girl who assaulted me, I wanted to bring charges against her. The guards, CPD, I think it is, said that they wouldn't bring any charges, that I could bring a civil case.
So when we were told that they'd get back to us about the civil case, and my dad went down to the Garda station to ask about it, and they said, you actually have until tomorrow. And if you don't win the civil case, you have to pay her bills and your bills.
No justice.
And we have to go to court to get our files.
Well, look, I really appreciate you talking to us on Opinions Matter. Sorry for this whole conversation dragging it all back up again, but it does highlight how important it is that this sort of thing is stamped out. Again, thanks very much indeed for your call. I just want to finish up with one final WhatsApp voice note that has come in to us from Tom.
I just wanted to put across the point that freedom of speech, it's a phrase that's bandied around quite a lot. But I don't think people realise that it doesn't cover offensive or threatening or harassing, speech, behaviour in general. So for people who say, or say insult someone and then say, oh, I have freedom of speech, they're idiots. That's not the way it works. If your speech is intended to harm or cause aggression towards another group, then it's not considered a freedom of speech. And look, feel free to look on websites. I'm not a solicitor, but it's not too difficult to look online, incredible websites, and see the way the law stands. And in addition, it's the judge that makes the final ruling on whether it's right or wrong. For the girl who's having the difficulty there with the abuse, go to the guards and say, listen, I want you to use the IP address to identify who it is and get them.
All right, Tom, thanks very much indeed for your message.
Tom, I was there.
It's not that easy.
When my stalker had 10 different Twitter accounts set up at one stage, you saw some of the stuff that was coming in.
I did, yeah.
And the guards could not do anything. They had to go about it a different way. Here's the bottom line. These big companies, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, they know that if they stamp out anonymous accounts, that their platforms are dead, because their platforms thrive on people having anonymous accounts. And I get it, that if everybody is being nice to each other on Twitter because they all have verified accounts, and it's, good morning, Adrian, how are you? You're looking lovely today. You're looking lovely, Jeremy. Wasn't the game great last night? All the footballers did great. We don't live in the Truman Show here, world where everything is nice and fake. You need to be able to still be critical and slag someone off, without repercussions. But this is different. We are talking about concentrated abuse that goes on and on and on to the point that someone's mental health has been affected.